Assalamu alaikum once again. Good evening, selamat sore, and welcome to week 2 of AIMEP 2025 and our first session for this week. Before we begin, as always, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the lands on which we all are joining from this evening or this afternoon. For myself and Rowan, that's the Bunurong people of the Kulin Nation down in southeast Melbourne. We recognise their continuing connection to land, water and community and pay our respects to their elders past, present and emerging. Now I have, our usual housekeeping point to invite everyone to change your name so that it shows both your name and where you're joining us from today, so that both our speakers and our fellow delegates can see where we all are. If possible, to turn your cameras on so that we can all see each other. And also just to acknowledge that we have some guests who are joining us tonight. I can see Ibu Ellie Williams already here from the Australia-Indonesia Institute Board. And we may also have one or two of her colleagues from the board or the AII Secretariat in the Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade just joining us tonight as observers. And we have just in the last couple of minutes discovered that our session tonight will be a little bit different to usual and a little bit different to plan. So unfortunately, Professor Ozalp, who was going to join us today, has just let us know that he has been very unwell with influenza. He was hoping he was going to be better for the session today, but unfortunately that hasn't happened. So we are very fortunate to still have with us Ibu Alisa Wahid. And yeah, for our Australian perspectives today, basically what we will be doing is, I think as we go through question time, will be for any of our Australians who would like to offer their perspectives on this really important topic, which I know many of you are actively involved in the community work that you do. We'll be inviting you to share a little bit of your own insights as well as asking questions tonight, just to offer that Australian perspective as well. So what is our topic for tonight? I'm sure you are all very much already aware. The topic is leadership and inclusion in a multicultural society. So as we've seen over the last week, and we're all very much aware, we come from very diverse communities, both in Australia and in Indonesia, which is one point of commonality that I think we have from across both our countries, but both in quite different ways. So here in Australia, we have over 180 different cultural communities just amongst our own Muslim community. And that's to say nothing of, that's not even to mention yet the many languages, religions and cultures that we have across the broader Australian community as well. And of course, in Indonesia, we've also seen that there's enormous diversity there with over 500 languages being spoken, hundreds of different cultural groups. And in both our countries as well, diversity within the Muslim communities in terms of our cultural and religious interpretations and affiliations. You know, in Indonesia, there's NU and Muhammadiyah and so many more. So the question that we'll be exploring today is, how do we navigate this diversity? How do we take the richness of this diversity and also make sure that people feel included, particularly if they are not part of a majority group? So we are very much looking forward to hearing from Ibu Alisa Wahid today, founder of Gus Durian, and as I mentioned, unfortunately, Professor Mehmet Ozalp, one of the co-founders of Affinity Intercultural Foundation in Australia, is not able to join us, but yeah, I'm pretty confident that amongst our Australian delegates, and maybe with a couple of words here and there from Rowan and myself, and perhaps Bu Ellie if she's free. But yeah, I'm confident that from amongst ourselves we could actually offer some reflections on this topic as well to give that Australian perspective. But first of all, it is my absolute pleasure to introduce our first speaker for today, Ibu Alisa Wahid, who is a psychologist by training and also founder and director of the Gus Durian Network Indonesia, where she promotes interfaith dialogue. She advocates for freedom of religion and belief, and minority rights and religious moderation. Ibu Alisa is engaged across a broad range of initiatives related to democracy, diversity, and interfaith cooperation. And she also specializes in strategic planning and transformative program design. Finally, Ibu Alisa is also co-chair of the executive board of Nahdlatul Ulama, which is Indonesia's largest faith-based civil society organization with over 70 million members. And Ibu Alisa is the first woman to hold that position. So we are honored to have Ibu Alisa here to speak with us this evening. Thank you so much. Silakan, Bu.
Okay. Thank you, Ibu Brina. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. It is a great honor for me to be invited to share with you, especially meeting delegates from Indonesia, of course, that will be experiencing what I am sure will be life-changing, or at least perspective-changing moments or experience that you will have. So thank you so much for our Australian organizers for this wonderful program that I've been hearing a lot, and I'm happy that I have been engaged before, and now invited again to share with you in such a very important topics for me personally, that is about inclusivism and leadership. And this is things that are really challenging, but also the greatest opportunity for us to capitalize on the diversity of our society, to the betterment of society, the society themselves, or in the Islamic term we call it al-maslahah al-ammah. So let me just start with maybe let me check whether I can share effectively. Is this okay? Can you?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Thank you so much, and I'm really sorry that Professor maybe I butchered the name. Will not be able to join us, but I'm sure all the delegates and the seniors that are here will be able to also share their ideas about leadership and inclusivism. So my presentation will just be, a trigger of conversation later on. So this is Indonesia, and I'm sure Australia is actually a little bit or similar to Indonesia. That is very very diverse and a democracy. The only thing would probably more on how religion plays the role in the lives of the people, and even how religions influence public policies and the choices that the government made. So that would be the difference, probably, because Indonesia is very, very religious. Everything has to be to have a religious perspective, to be able to have a strong impact in society, and that's a strength but also a weakness. So that So, but the other two, how we are diverse and how we are both democracies, are shared by Indonesia and Australia. In Indonesia, this is what I have mentioned before. So Australia is here. The importance of religion in people's life. This is the global attitude survey by Pew Research in 2015, and I don't think it changed significantly. But Indonesia is here. So 97% of the Indonesian people believe that religion is important. And when the question was about whether, compared to 20 years ago, religion has a more or less important role in the country, only the Indonesian people that stated religion has more important role right now, at least in 2015. This one is a 2018 survey, than 20 years previously. So this is very different from Australia. So Australia is only 15% of the people. Yeah, so this would probably the largest difference between the diversity and diversity in religion and its impact in the society between Australia and Indonesia. But the question is always, of course, about how we can navigate the diversity. How can we preserve or strengthen unity in the world, in a world that is changing rapidly and are facing so many challenges. Like, for example, this morning I met with one very influential business person from India, and he said he talked about AI and how AI really disrupt people's lives, and I don't think we're ready for that, and how it will challenge the way we live with one another. So even diversity, unity in diversity will face a greater challenge later on. So at least in Indonesia, the challenges of inclusivism or unity in diversity is actually, I would say, would fall into 4 categories. The first is the rise of exclusivism, especially religious exclusivism, where people from the same religion or faith, usually they would practice more exclusivistic approaches instead of inclusive approaches or paradigms in religiosity. And the second one is about democracy and majoritarianism. We know that democracy relies on including the voice of all individuals, all citizens. But majoritarianism is, of course, relying on majority. So it's more than just person against a person, but it's a feeling of, primordial identities that will play a major role in this. And then we also have, because of majoritarianism, because of religious exclusivism, we have the risk of hate spin. Hate spin is a term coined by Sherian George. He's a researcher, and he did research on religious sentiments and ideological sentiments during the presidential elections of President Modi in India in 2015, Indonesian elections in 2014 that was won by President Jokowi, and then the first Trump election in 2016. And he found out that there's what he called hate spin, which explain about how primordial sentiments between groups of people will be twisted into a hate sentiments when there is a contest of power. So the sentiment, they're usually pretty much present in everyday lives, but it's benign. It's not dividing. It's not divisive. But when election time came, then this he called politics entrepreneurs will use this religious sentiment or ideological sentiment and turn that into a hate spin for the benefit of getting support. So that would be the biggest threat to inclusivism because of the hate. And then the fourth one, the challenge would be about law enforcement. And for this one, I don't really know what is the culture or the climate of law enforcement in Australia. But in Indonesia, we have a contention between social harmony and democracy, democratic principle that is protecting the constitutional rights of every citizen. So in Indonesia, because Indonesia is a sociocentric society and a religious one at that, sometimes people will put individual rights at the second importance compared to the group rights or group perspectives or group values. So when you have a majority that is kind of oppressive, they would operate with the majoritarianism, and then what will happen is the law enforcement will turn into a social harmony perspective. So not fulfilling or protecting the constitutional rights. And this is what we have seen in the cases against worship places, for example, in Indonesia, where the local, currently, at least today, we see in Indonesia, there's a viral news on a worship place that is rejected in a district in West Java. This is a Christian worship place, and it is rejected by the Muslim groups there. So the local law enforcement, the local government, they produced a letter saying that for the sake of social harmony, then we have to close down these Christian worship places. If not, there will be conflict, local conflicts, blah, blah, blah. So that would be the challenges of exclusivism that we are experiencing in Indonesia. And that comes from, this one is about the exclusivism, religious exclusivism. Professor Shafi Anwar from Muhammadiyah explained that there are two paradigms of practices. The first one is substantive inclusive religious practices. And the second one is legal formalistic exclusivistic religious practices. The substantive inclusive will translate into, like, for example, the trilogy of Ukhuwah that is developed by Nahdlatul Ulama. In Nahdlatul Ulama, we believe that for us Muslims in Indonesia to be able to realize Islam as the blessings to the universe, we have to strengthen three solidarity. The first one is solidarity among the Muslims. The second one is the solidarity with other Indonesians, ukhuwah watoniyah. And the third one is ukhuwah basyariyah, solidarity across humanity. And these three have to go hand in hand. You cannot just practice only ukhuwah Islamia or solidarity with other Muslims if you want to achieve Islam as the blessings to the universe, because it's Islam rahmatan lil alamin, not Islam rahmatan lil muslimin. So not Islam as a blessing to the Muslims, but Islam as a blessing to the universe. That's our highest call as Muslims. So this is the substantive inclusive religious practices. But we have seen the rise of legal formalistic exclusivistic religious practices that believe that, oh, we are the chosen one, our religion is the rightful one, we are the children of God, and as such we are the owners of this earth, and others are, they're just renting a place in this earth that belongs to us. And as such, we would have higher positions, higher influence, higher place against others, especially the minority groups. So this is the other practice. And in these types of religious practices, the goal is actually to establish a religious state or a religious socio-economic politics system. And if we are not careful, that can lead to violent extremism. So it started with exclusivism, but when exclusivism meet superiority because of a majoritarianism, then it will lead to intolerance and discrimination. And we know if we have intolerance and discriminations, there won't be inclusivism within the society. So this is the challenge. And because of that, we have to make sure that we have to make sure that unity in diversity will be preserved and strengthened through all kinds of efforts, because we cannot take it for granted. With the way the world is moving right now, unity is much more difficult to establish, and that's why we need leaders. And Susan Walsh proposed these ideas of 3R strategy for sustainable change, that if you want to have a sustainable change in society, then you have to make sure that the public policies are going supporting the change that we are striving for. But we have to make sure that there is a change at the people level. There is a change of behavior, of tradition, of culture. And to do that, we need the power of the civil society organizations, especially the faith-based organizations. And in Indonesia, specifically in Gus Durian Network, we put faith-based work, faith-based segment to this, because we believe that Indonesia is highly influenced by religious framework. So that's why we need to work also with the faith-based organization and faith-based communities. So this is about inclusivism. For this, all of this, we really need to have leaders working to make sure that the society will maintain inclusivism. This is going to be a social challenge, a social contest. So that's why I really appreciate the AIMEP program, because it will provide experience and learning process, sharing from one another, to prepare all the participants to have a higher capacity on leadership itself. So let me stop here and ask all of you, Pak Rowan and Ibu Brina, please just remind me if my time is close to And right?
We're probably a bit close, but you're very welcome to continue, Lisa.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So can I ask all of you to just I put a link here in the on the chat box. It's on it's about a Mentimeter, and can I ask all of you to just click on the link and put in your word, your answer to this, as we are going into the leadership, the segment on leadership and um, leadership and social movement growth. Okay, one word about leadership is humility. By example, courageous. Okay. Thoughtful reflection. Wow. This is such advanced words and concepts. Empathy. Okay. Leadership is grassroots. Okay. Leadership is tough. Okay. Inspire, hear, and heard. Okay. Crush. Leadership is crushing. Oh, wow. If we have time later, maybe the person who put crushing can share why leadership is crushing. By example, courageous, empathy influence vision, exemplary behavior, responsibility, initiative, tough, common good, transformation. Okay, humility. Okay, so the next one, can you, yeah. So what is the most important quality of a leader then? If those terms are about leadership, so what is the most important quality of a leader? Strength, okay. Okay. Self-reflection, humility, critical thinking, communication, collaborative. Wow. Integrity. Okay. An open heart. What? Always contactable. Okay. Okay. Just stay on WhatsApp, then you will always be contactable all the time. Speak and influence. Character change. Okay. Responsibility. Responsible. Okay. Integrity is the biggest one, and humility. Okay. Wow. Speak and influence. Inclusive, strength, listening, genuine thinking, spiritual intelligence, social intelligence, hearing capability. Okay. Hearing or listening. Working together. Okay. Collaboration, emotional intelligence, understanding, empathetic, critical thinking, self-reflection, sacrifice. Okay. Sleep. What is the most important quality of a leader? Sleepless. Okay. I think I passed this one. Humble. Okay. Kind. Organized. Okay. Thank you so much for your sharing. So we have the bigger one here is integrity and humility. Okay. Okay. Okay, let me just share, come back to my PowerPoint, and then let's dive a little bit deeper into leadership. So this is my coach, Professor Otto Scharmer. I learned about system thinking and transformative social transformation from Professor Otto Scharmer. He said that successful leadership in the 21st century depends on the quality of intention and the quality of attention. What is your intention? in your leadership, and what is your focus? How do you utilize your resources to be able to achieve the kind of focus that you need? You choose. So this is what he said: the quality of intention, the quality of attention. So there is a big difference between business mental model and leaders mental model, but sometimes I see that that leaders focus on the business mental model, that is focusing on the problem and answering the question, how can we fix it? While a leader's mental model, according to Professor Otto Scharmer, is more like a gardener, more like a farmer. They focus more on what do we want to see. We focus more on what do we want to see growing and what environment needed to ensure it grows. So not necessarily fixing problems, but more on what are the essentials that we need to focus on. And that's why it's really important to understand, what do you want to see growing? What do you want to achieve? What do you want to see the people that you lead will be able to achieve? And for that, what kind of essentials that is needed to ensure it grows? So that's the question. And then I'm adding another framework of leadership that I usually use in any types of leadership session that I'm doing, that there are 5 levels of leadership. The first one is you have a leadership, people follow you because you have the position. So you have the rights to lead others. And in this first position, power comes only from the job description or only from the formalities that you have. Once you lost that formalities, once you lost that position, then you will not be able to lead others. And the second step, the second level of leadership is about relationship. Because you are trusted as a person, it doesn't really matter whether you have that position or not. You will be able to lead the people that thinks that they trust you. So they give you the permission to lead them. So this is based on relationship. How can we build relationship with the people that we are leading? Because that would reflect on the influence that we have on them. But the third one is actually the most important one, I think, is about result. This is the leadership by production, where people see that you produce result, you produce initiatives that is tangible. The process or the result is there for them to see, and that is why you are respected and you are followed. Because people see the result and they want to be follow you. The fourth one is more.
Well, Elisa, just briefly,
Yes.
We've probably got 1 or 2 more minutes for the presentation.
Okay.
If possible.
Okay.
Great, thank you.
Okay. So the fourth one is people development, where you as a leader, you pave the way for other leaders to emerge. You train, you coach, and you help others to build their capacity. And the fifth one is about personhood. So this one is about charisma, long-term leaders. And for this, you need the personal mastery for leadership. That is, you need to have an awareness. You need to have a listening skill. I used to think listening is not that important, but it leads to other things. It leads to being able to focus, to open your mind, to open your heart, to crystallize your intention, to open your will, and of course, to make sure that it's a joyful a joyful, process for all. And so I will end with this one. Ilya Prigogine is a Nobel laureate, and he said that small islands of coherence in a sea of chaos have the capacity to shift the entire system to a higher order. Sometimes we feel that we are small people, we don't have enough capacity to change the system or the social context. But let's believe that if we have leaders taking care of their own small islands, and we are coherent with one another, then we have the capacity to shift the entire system to a higher order. And I believe AIMEP is actually creating these small islands of coherence through all of you, the participants. So congratulations, as you are chosen, and hopefully you will have a joyful and meaningful process of learning, and then coming out as a bigger leader and to lead bigger change. I will end with that. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Bu Alisa, for that really, really insightful reflection on what it means to be a leader in a multicultural and diverse society, as we have in both Australia and Indonesia. So I feel like your presentation absolutely spoke to both countries. You shared some really interesting statistics at the start about the extent to which religion is important to Australians versus Indonesia, and it was a really, really striking difference. I think that's probably one of the biggest points of difference we have between our societies. And I mean, we do the diversity that we have in Australia, just to give our Indonesians, I'm not going to even attempt to do a presentation in place of Professor Oswald. But, the diversity that we have, 30% of Australians are born overseas. 52% are either born overseas or have a parent born overseas. And I mean, I think a lot of our delegates here with us tonight work in those spaces. And I love the questions that we can see coming through already reflect the fact that people are very aware with. I feel like Alisa has given us a fantastic sense of the big picture issues that are at play and the big picture issues that we need to think about as leaders. And looking at the questions that are coming through, I think it will be a really interesting opportunity for us to explore what it looks like on the ground, and what the challenges, the different challenges that appear in our society in actual in actual reality in different segments of our society. I might just start with the question that Rowan's shared it, but I might ask it if that's right. But just to give us a little bit more context in the Indonesian space, Alisa, perhaps if you could explain a little bit, you can probably see the question as well, but about Pancasila and the role that plays in the Indonesian context especially, and how it relates to an Islamic view of nationhood, and also that idea of inclusivity. But then, if and how that interacts with some of the challenges that you also spoke about in your presentation.
Okay, thank you for the question. This is really important, and that the way the Muslim community embraces Pancasila in Indonesia is really a reflection of this inclusive perspective, religious inclusivism within the Muslim society themselves. So we know that Pancasila comprises of 5 silas or 5 principles. The first one is the belief in God. And then the second one, and in Islamic perspective, we call this Tawhid, right? And then the second one is about being a person of integrity, fairness, and also what is the word for beradab? Civilized. So the individual ideas on fairness as individuals, because we have the fifth one as a social justice. So the second principle is about the person, kemanusiaan, humanity, that is based on civilized society and fairness. And then the third one is the unity, the Indonesian unity. The fourth one is about democracy, actually, because it translates into musyawarah or dialogue as a means of achieving or govern the system, the Indonesian political system. So we have these 5 principles. And Gus Dur, my father, President Wahid, used to say that Pancasila is not religion and will not be able to replace religion in Indonesia. Pancasila are principles that we as a nation agreed upon as the guiding principles of Indonesia. So this is just guiding principles, and in as a psychologist, I learned about hierarchy of values, that people have values and it has hierarchies. And I would have a different hierarchy of values than my husband, or even my children will have different hierarchy of values than me. So as a nation, Pancasila is just an agreement on what are the guiding principles that will be referred by all the Indonesian. But the Muslim leaders, the ulamas, they all they testified and they strengthened the beliefs that Pancasila actually are not impartial to religious values. Ketuhanan Yang Maha Esa, belief in one God, is actually a religious basic tenets, basic principle. Humanity, civilization, fairness is also principles that all religions will teach or internalize through the people. The third one, Indonesian unity, we call it hubul watan minal iman in Islamic perspective. To love one nation is part of faith. And the fourth one, musyawarah is a Islamic term. Social justice is the highest ideals that Prophet Muhammad has been trying to establish when he was preaching about Islam. So all of these principles, they are not alien to the Islamic principles, and that's why it was so easy for the people, the Muslim leaders, to actually embrace Pancasila. The challenge was not at the beginning of the independence of Indonesia, but actually later on during President Suharto regime, because Suharto regime used Pancasila as this closed ideology, and the regime was whenever we have people who criticize the government, they will use Pancasila as a defining instrument to say that you are against Pancasila. So that means you are a traitor, or you are I don't know the right word, but the people who are the enemy of the nation. So that was the turn when he was forcing Pancasila as the only ideology for all civil society organizations, and that led to the resistance by the Muslim Islamic groups. But at the beginning of the Indonesian independence, that was not the case. So Pancasila was embraced by these Muslim leaders, and now we are enjoying this new paradigm that Pancasila is indeed Islamic, and other religions will also feel, because that's all these principles, they are universal principles, but we just chose those principles as at the highest level of our, and that's why for Muslim leaders we call it kalimatun sawa, or a term of agreement. That's it, Pak Rowan.
Thank you so much for that, Bu Alisa. And we have some fantastic questions coming through, so I'll try to start getting to those.
Okay.
We might start with the very first question, which is from Mas Hibat about horizontal conflict that exists in Indonesia. And perhaps as part of your question, Mas Hibat, for the benefit of our Australian delegates, if you could mention just one or two examples of what that horizontal conflict looks like in Indonesia as well. Perhaps.
Okay. Thank you so much. Assalamualaikum, Mbak Lisa.
Waalaikumsalam.
I actually have been worked together with Mbak Lisa in 2021 in Saling Jaga Corona, when we are fundraising about 1 billion, around 1 billion for Indonesians to help people who get Corona. Yeah, thank you so much for the presentation. Yes, for example, in the horizontal conflict of Indonesian that happen, sometimes it's just as simple as we are debating each other sometimes in the internet, or sometimes even in the offline experience, like we are debating about sometimes about the fikih, or sometimes about the legal form of building some church and etc. Or the extreme one, sometimes some organization persecute some other organization, or majlis even, or some majlis has been demolished or has been persecuted to be held in some area and etc. Something like that. Because I said before that Australian Muslim is also diverse, just like in Indonesia, but Australian Muslim tend to open mind, just like the speakers in the session before. But in Indonesia, the diversity not making the people to be open mind. We are tend to debating each other. We are tend to focus on the difference each other, and then debating which one is right, which one is wrong. And the question is, what's the root cause of this happen? Is there any wrong leadership style in Indonesia, or non-relevant leadership style, or is there any mismanagement in the Islamic group that makes the Indonesian Muslim tend to focus on the different, not in the similar in each other?
Yeah. Can I answer directly, Bu Brina?
Yeah, please. Yeah.
Okay. So the biggest difference is where what I mentioned about the inclusive approach and exclusive approach. Like, for example, there are Muslim groups who believe that that we have to have a distance with people from different religions and different what do you call it, mazhab, like that. So it will be hard because this is really like polarized, right? The first one believe that Islam kafah means that we need to establish to live in a totally Islamic system. That's why the proponent of this paradigm will always think of how we can formalize Islamic things, Islamic values or Islamic perspective or Islamic needs as a regulation. While the other end, the other end is that inclusive inclusive paradigm, where this is Indonesian Islam. This is not Arabic. This is not the Arab world. This is not like a homogeneous society, and we need to make sure that nobody is trying to impose their own beliefs to others. So that's why it's easier sometimes. It's easier to work with people of different religion than even within the Muslim community itself, because this comes from really different directions. Yeah. Like, for example, I would say the people from Nahdlatul Ulama will be more sensitive to Wahhabism, because Nahdlatul Ulama was set up after a group of ulama from Indonesia went to see King Saud in protest against how Wahhabism demolish all these holy sites, even the tomb of Khadijah and other early followers of Prophet Muhammad. And they wanted to also demolish the tomb of Prophet Muhammad himself. And that's why these ulamas coming from Indonesia, they went to see King Saud and protest and said, no way you can demolish this this holy site. And then King Saud agreed to that. This committee, which is called Committee Hijaz, they came back to Indonesia, and then out of that Committee Hijaz, they founded Nahdlatul Ulama. So almost from the start of Nahdlatul Ulama, they have been, opposing these ideas of Puritanism, of ultra conservatism, and that's why people in Nahdlatul Ulama became very sensitive to all kinds of, practices bringing in Wahhabism. That in other ways, some Islamic groups will be very offensive to the Shiite community, even saying that Shiite are not Muslims, for example, because they believe. So that's why this is very polarized position. And if you ask, your question was about why is it harder to achieve the similarities between these groups or communities. It's because they came from different directions, and we need to. There's a new declaration. It's called Bahrain Declarations, that talk about Islamic unity amongst its diverse groups within the Islamic world. So hopefully it will lead to a more to strengthen efforts to unite all these Muslims groups and focusing more on the similarities and the same beliefs instead of the differences.
Thank you so much, Bu Alisa. I might now invite Anissa. I know you do a lot of work in the space of inclusion, and including with young people. If you wanted to ask your question of Bu Alisa, silakan.
Thank you, Bu Brina. Assalamualaikum, Bu Alisa.
Waalaikumsalam, Anissa.
Yeah, I work closely with young people and youth, and also I know that Gus Durian also work closely with youth as well, and also with the role of media. So I have two questions here. The first one is, how do you see the role of young people, especially youth, in promoting inclusion in a multicultural society, and the relationship with intergenerational leadership? For example, in Indonesia, oftentimes we see that young people don't have power towards older generation and older people, especially in a more structural leadership. So how do you see the role of the youth in it, and um, how do you encourage young people to collaborate together with older generation? And then my second question is about the role of media in promoting inclusive narratives, especially in Indonesia. We observe and we are easily influenced by hoax, and then misinformation, and also a lot of disinformation as well. And how do you what kind of recommendation could you give to us, as I know you also, Gus Durian, also work in a media and the role of media. And I also see a lot of our delegates here asking about young people. So thank you so much. Maybe I'm just starting this point. Thank you, Bubrina.
Thank you, Mbak Anissa. Of course, right now, the youth, especially youth leaders, have a bigger, have a, I would not say responsibility, but we hope that we will have more youth leaders leading the young generations to be more inclusive, because in Indonesia, I think the future belongs, well, not only in Indonesia, of course, in Indonesia, in Australia, and everywhere around the world, the future belongs to the youth, right? The question is always about capability or capacity of leadership, capacity of transformation, capacity of what do you call it, organizing and galvanizing the society themselves. So it's not a question on the ideals, because I always believe that the youth are the ones who are changing the society. It's always like that. It's always about the youth. Indonesian Independence Proclamation Day was forced by the youth. 1960, 1975, 1998 are all galvanized by the youth leaders at that time. So it's always youth who are changing the status quo, who will always change the society, because they have this strength and obsession and idealistic state of mind. Because older generations like me, usually we are more we have so many frustration and failures, so sometimes we just don't want to try because we know that we will fail like that. But the youth, they don't know that. They don't know that it will fail, or it will not be able to. So this is the strength of the youth. You have the privilege of holding on to your ideals, right? And I also believe that Indonesia is at a crossroad. Farki Foundation did a global survey on Gen Zs around the world. And when a question was asked about whether religion is important, Indonesian youth, Indonesian Gen Zs said 93% of Indonesian Gen Zs, correctly in the study, believe that religion is important. At the other extreme, in Japan, only 9% of Gen Z believe that religion is important. So the question is, what kind of religiosity the Indonesian youth is absorbing, right? If it's inclusive kind of religiosity, then it will lead to a more inclusive society. But if the young people, the Gen Zs, are more influenced into thinking that, oh, we are like, for example, for the Muslims, there has been a principle that is getting more popular. It's called Al-Wala wal-Bara. This is actually coming from the book by Muhammad Wahab, and it translates into, please keep your distance from the people outside of our community, because they have no good intention to us, like that. So if you have more Muslim youth thinking this way, then there won't be interactions with other youth from different organizations or different religions, and so on and so forth. So this is really important. What kind of religiosity that are present and absorbed by the youth, and in this context, media plays a huge role. Who is the media? It's important, not only what kind of media, but who is the media? Who owns, who operates, who has developed this media? If the media is owned by people with exclusivistic ideas, then of course it will promote exclusivistic ideas. If the medias are dominated by inclusivistic memes or contents or informations, then of course it will shape the way the young generations will think and will develop in their lives, and will influence the socio-economic, the socio-political system that they are building by themselves. So it is really important to work with the media, and we have so many. I think Indonesia is blessed with a robust civil society. So we have Mafindo, we have other many initiatives by the youth on countering divisive narrative, misinformation, disinformation. But getting media literacy is really important for the young people, and also understanding how narratives can lead to division in society, and how can we make sure that the dominant voice is the inclusive ones. And for this one, actually, Gus Durian Network has a specific training for this. And for the intergenerational leadership and programs, we also have different programs. We train young multi-faith leaders, and then we also set up a platform for the older faith leaders. And at some point, we get them to meet with one another, to listen to one another, and then to work in intergenerational context in many centers, many communities, local communities that we have. Hopefully, it will translate into the presence of youth leaders sooner than later. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that multifaceted response there, Bu Alisa, that really touched on several really important topics that I think are relevant to Australia as well, that the different roles that religiosity can play, the different roles of media. And I know that there's several people here who I think would be quite interested to learn about the intergenerational programs and training that you offer through Gus Durian as well. I might just jump to one of our more recent questions from someone in Australia, just to so Ala, your question about the Australian context. Well, Alisa, it's asking for your perspective on Australia. So I feel like it's drawing on your wisdom and also giving a little bit of a perspective on Australia as well. Go for it, Ala.
Aikom, thank you so much.
Sorry.
Because that was really, really interesting. So similar, trying to implement it in kind of situations that I lead in terms of inclusive leadership in an organization where obviously we have a lot of minorities jumbled up into inclusion and diversity, and sometimes there are in conflict with, I guess, our own faith and practices. And it might be controversial, but I really am looking for insight on how to navigate these spaces. So for example, I would say the LGBTQ+, and, you know, part of that community in terms of inclusive leadership, you're asked to advocate. And so how do we stay true to, I guess, our beliefs, but also ensuring we are representing, obviously, a wider cohort of different faith-based and secular views.
Thank you, Ala. Your question reminded me of my father, Gus Dur's experience in working and defending the rights of the Ahmadi people. In Indonesia, many Islamic groups think that Ahmadiyya is what is the word in English? Aliran sesat?
Deviant sect.
It's a deviant, yes, it's a deviant group. And some more ultra-conservative groups, they even condone using violence against the Ahmadis because they believe that the Ahmadis violates the rule of Islam. So my father was the leaders of Nahdlatul Ulama for 15 years. But he was also a champion of democracy and human rights. And when he defended Ahmadiyya, he spoke to the leaders of Ahmadiyya, Indonesia, and said that I don't agree with your beliefs. I think your belief is wrong. But I will defend your rights as Indonesian citizens to worship and to do your religiosity as it is a constitutional rights, and you have that rights. So in Gus Durian Network, for example, many people come from Nahdlatul Ulama, and of course they are more conservative. And of course, sometimes they are not comfortable working with LGBTQ. But we try to separate between their rights to their ideology, their beliefs, and in this case, their sexual orientation, with their rights to live as citizens with fully constitutional rights in Indonesia. And what we are focusing is on this constitutional rights. So, well, we might have different view on many things, but you have the rights to your own ideology, to your own beliefs, and to your own faith, and we need to respect that and make sure that it is fulfilled and respected as Indonesian. And this goes to the ukhuwah watonia, the solidarity among citizens of Indonesia. And with other LGBTQ community across the world, then it's a ukhuwah basharia, or a solidarity across humanity. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your answer, Bu Alisa. And I feel like that, yeah, certainly given people something to go away and think about. We do have lots more questions, but we are running short on time. So I thought I might just offer you this opportunity if there's any final words of wisdom and advice that you would like to offer to our delegates themselves, who many of whom are young leaders in a space of diversity and ways in which they can, and I mean, perhaps as well, speaking to some of the words that came up with the challenges that in terms of leadership, you know, I think crushing was perhaps a word that came up before, you know, the realistic challenges that many people face as well in taking that. What would your advice be to them to so that crushing doesn't come up as a, as a word for next time? How to navigate that?
Well, I think all the delegates here you are all have a wonderful opportunity to strengthen your work, because I know that you are chosen because of your work, because of your integrity, because of the results that you have been achieving all this time. And you are leaders already in your respective communities and your respective groups. But this opportunity will be a golden opportunity to learn more, because leaders are always learners. Good leaders are good followers. Good leaders always believe that they need to dig deeper, dive deeper, learn and grow. And that's the only way we can strengthen our own work. So congratulations again, but also at the same time, I know that you are blessed with burden. So congratulations on the burden and congratulations on the blessings, but hopefully the future of the world will be brighter because of you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Bu Alisa. And can I invite everyone to please join me in thanking Bu Alisa through your reactions, through clapping, through your comments in the chat. Thank you so much for the insights that you have shared with us today, Bu Alisa. So what the delegates will now be doing is they'll be going into small breakout rooms with each other, where they have a chance to reflect on what you've shared with us today, and also to reflect on the question of what are the challenges to social cohesion that still exist in your communities, and how do you think we can work together to improve a sense of inclusion in our multicultural societies. And in particular as well, you might like to reflect personally on how you engage with minority or marginalised individuals in your community. I know in Australia we're minorities, we're a minority group, but perhaps other minority communities as well, which I know that a lot of you do through your work. So I think Mbak Ulfa has shared okay, I think the questions are there, but anyway, I'm sure that you know what there we are. There's the questions there, and the breakout rooms will be open. And thank you again so much, Bu Alisa, for
my pleasure. My
such
pleasure.
a wonderful presentation.
Thank you so much, Bu Alisa.
So I will ask your permission to leave the room right now.
Yes,
to have your own.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Congratulations and have a great time in the program. Bye. Assalamualaikum.
Thank you. Waalaikumsalam. I hope you are all enjoying your conversations and that we didn't have to pull too many of you away too quickly. But yeah, I hope you had some really interesting reflections on your different experiences across your communities. Just before we get everyone to report back, I just wanted to say a really very quick thank you to everyone for your your patience and for working with our team, especially to our Indonesian delegates, because I'm very conscious that we're emailing you about so many things at the moment. I mean, flights for everyone, delegate presentations for everyone, but the Indonesians are also sending through just about every official document they've ever owned in their lives to help us process their visa applications. And we will also be emailing you soon to start organising for you to be joining all the Australians in Jakarta. So I think for many Indonesians, you've probably checked your emails more than you ever have because of everything coming through from AIMEP. So I just wanted to take a brief moment to thank you all. But we really, really appreciate how much you've been, working together with our team. So thank you for your patience. All right, back to the main topic, which is, reporting back from the different groups. If possible, we would love to invite someone from the breakout rooms who hasn't spoken to the group before. Perhaps we'll start with breakout room 1. We have Mas Fatur, Teh Anissa, Mbak Bani, Iman, and Kudrat. If there's someone who'd like to share some of your reflections.
Someone
Okay.
new.
Yeah.
Silakan, all yours,
Yeah.
Mbak Bani.
Yeah. I want to share about our discussion with Group 1, which is very, very interesting and insightful. So, the key takeaway from the Bu Alisa's presentation before, we got so many insights, so many example, the real example, because Bu Alisa is not just share the theory, but also she have done a lot of projects and also works in the inclusive and leadership. And actually, there are several stories that can be, I think we can boost the inclusivity or the cohesion in our society, especially with the minority or maybe with the different group from our views. For like example, I remember that we here in Indonesia, Mbak Anissa also said about ngabuburit. Yeah, ngabuburit is some one of the tradition when Ramadan comes, and we try to search iftar or breakfasting, and this tradition, this trend, this has become trend in Indonesia, even though for the non-Muslim or outside Muslim, like many influencer, even though they are not Muslim, they also did this ngabuburit tradition. So it's come to like we try to make a cohesion, more cohesive community with food and with tradition. And actually in Australia also, Iman also said that iftar is also can become a very nice activity for engaging a lot of people and show that Islam is very beautiful. And also, I think I also remember that Pak Fatur shared about the Mu'alaf community. Maybe you can also add something about this. And the beautiful of Islam actually is shared by ourselves as Muslim. It's not just the ayat from Quran, but how we do our deeds and show our community that Islam is very inclusive and rahmatan lil alamin. Okay, that's all from me.
Thank you so much, Mbak Bani. Mas Fatur, did you want to add something briefly about your work, or no obligation? I'm very curious. I don't often hear about converts in Indonesia, Mu'alaf. So anyway, that's okay. Maybe I'll invite the other rooms first, and then I can invite you at the end if we have time. Room 2, we have Mbak Diajeng, Mbak Erin, Juliana, Mas Mirza, and Ridwan. If there's someone who'd like to share some of your discussions. Perhaps. Oh, Rowan, you're going to share from room.
Yes, I was going. So I just can't resist unmuting and saying something silly whenever there's a pause.
Mas Mirza, you have been.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, Brian, for the opportunity. In the room two, we have a lot of discussion about the inclusivity and how Islam community has huge tolerance in Indonesia. Maybe it's like serious topics in this evening because we talk a lot about the like LGBTQ communities, Islamic communities or pesantren in Yogyakarta because but Diajeng and also the Dian have visited this area and how the surrounding Muslim community accept the LGBTQ community in Yogyakarta. However, we learned a lot of from the Gusdur or Gusdurian that humanities and human rights is about the religion. Even though we don't or disagree with the LGBTQ, the idea, but we have to respect their rights in as a country, as a national in Indonesia. Moreover, the interesting part in Indonesia that in some cases, Christian community or other religion communities build mosque in the surrounding areas. That's a unique thing. And the Muslim community itself in Indonesia sometimes together like donate to establish and help the Christian community to establish their own church. That's maybe it's not exposed in the media, but it's a lot of stories about these things. And I still remember that in some cases in the Muslim or Muslim communities allow the Christian communities to hold their Christmas celebration in the mosque courtyard, not inside the mosque, but in the courtyard. That's an interesting part of the inclusivity of the Muslim society, Muslim community in Indonesia. Thank you, Brian.
Yeah, that's really interesting. It sounds like you guys covered a lot of different aspects in the time that you had. Talking about helping the Christian community to build their churches reminds me of when I visited Ambon many years ago in eastern Indonesia, where the eastern Indonesia there's tend to be a lot more Christian and Catholic communities, and they had I've forgotten the name of it, but anyway, a local tradition where if there was a church that needed to be built, it was the Muslim village would build the church and the Christians would build the mosque. And so they had this like brother-sister relationship between the villages.
Was
Anyway,
it Pela Gandong? Was it?
Pela Gandong, yes. Yeah. I'm not sure that it's all that active anymore. That was, it used to be before there was a bit of conflict in the area. Anyway, room 3, we have Anjum, Mas Darul, Mbak Dina, and Luke. If someone wanted to share back.
Hi there. I was nominated by the group to speak.
Yeah, great.
So regarding the first question, what we found interesting about the speaker, I found it particularly interesting, her view on Penchasilla and her view on it being like a more inclusive, expanding ideology rather than a restricting, binding ideology. Like these days, when you hear Penchasilla used in a political context, it's often very nationalistic, quite jingoistic, I think. There's a group which includes Penchasilla in their name, Pemuda Penchasilla. And that is like the most open expression of nationalism within, Indonesian politics right now, as far as I can see it. And so, and then Alyssa Wahid, she comes and she talks about how, it's this ideology of compromise and guiding principles and things like that, terms of agreement, term that she used, and then like it just like brought up my memories of how Hinduism eventually managed to get included in Panchasila. You know, because you know, the first principle of Panchasila is that, you know, belief in one God. But then you have Hinduism, which you know, historically has explicitly been a polytheist religion. You know, and I don't think that's necessarily like a hypocritical or like a not true to the principles, because you know it shows great pragmatism from the leaders at the time. You know, it's not about ideology and forcing ideas on people and this and that. It's about getting the show on the road. It's about making compromises. It's about making sure that, you know, everyone can be included. And then you compare that to some other countries around that same period, like Malaysia, when you have the Bumiputra policy. You know, this is explicitly an Islamic state. Well, this is explicitly a state with Islam as a state religion. You know, the Bumiputra population is placed above, in some respects, other peoples. And then over time, and then then I'm thinking about how the results happen with that. You know, over time in Malaysia, you have the non-Bumiputra population going down. But then in Indonesia, you have relatively stable statistical demographic stability. You know, like, and then that reminded me, I was talking to a guy in Bali when I was over there, and he's saying, like, you know, I always feel like I belong here. You know, even though I'm a minority, I always feel there's a place for me in Bali. I don't feel like I'm being pushed out. So I thought that was very interesting and something worthy of reflection, you know. And then for the second question, we didn't get to talk about that too much. However, Anjum brought up some good points about how women should be more included, like among women's spaces. They're able to do some great work. But when it comes to like masjid committees and broader community groups, there's not as much influence there for women, even though women's concerns are very first and foremost. And I was just thinking about it. And I think a really good way that we could, as a minority in Australia, increase social cohesion. Very controversial, but if I had children, I wouldn't send them to an Islamic school. I'd want them to get involved with the mainstream community and get that exposure early on. You know, don't go through life with these preconceived notions of how people are. Get out there and see how they are, and use your empirical evidence reasoning skills and figure out what is the truth about these people. And I think that's a much better way to, you know, mix in with people rather than creating a narrative that you may go on and see as proved false later down the line. You know, I think it's more conducive to people getting along to get along. And that's it from me. I'll stop yapping now.
Right. Thank you so much for that, Luke. Really interesting reflections on Pancasila, which is definitely a topic I encourage Australians to ask Indonesians more about, because it's a really interesting part of Indonesian national state ideology. And also the opposite way around, I definitely encourage Indonesians to ask Australians their thoughts on Islamic schools in Australia, because many Australian Muslims have different views on Islamic schools and very different experiences of what being a student at an Islamic school can mean, and what that experience can be like in Australia. I'm just really curious briefly if I could ask the Australians, if you don't mind, did any of you, could you like unmute or put up your hand or something if you did go to an Islamic school when you were younger?
No.
You did? Yeah.
I went to a Catholic school.
But my young siblings did, so anyway.
Okay, yeah. And you did, Iman?
Yeah, so I went to Islamic, Anglican, and public school.
Oh wow. Oh wow. Which Islamic school did you go to?
King Khalid.
Okay.
AIA. Yeah.
Yeah. And Kudrat, you did as well?
Yeah, Minaret College.
Yep, yep. And Ala, were you in Australia during your school years?
Yeah, Canada and Australia, but all public schools.
Yep, yep. Cool. I feel like I'm probably missing. So anyway, yes, Juliana.
Yeah, I
You
went to
did.
Al Nuri and Malik Fahad. So I never went to a non-Islamic school.
Okay. Yeah. Cool. I'm personally really interested to ask for your reflections, but I won't do that now. But I will encourage Indonesians to ask the Australians about their thoughts, because
I was gonna say, Brianna, I was like, I
yeah,
don't know if like Saturday school counts as Islamic school. Like, but
yeah. Well, that's kind of interesting as well. Like that's definitely part of the education ecosystem in Australia. So a lot of Australian Muslims will learn about Islam through Saturday school or Sunday school or whichever, on the weekend. So yeah, lots of different options here. Anyway, room 4, your room, Ala, with Mas Hibat, Mbak Ismi, and Mas Mujib. Is there someone who would like to share?
Ala. Go on, Ala.
Oh,
Yeah,
I did
we-
so much talking about. I don't even know if you guys
Yeah.
listen to me.
We would
Let
like
me
to
see.
welcome Ala Karar. The floor is yours.
I think the floor is yours, Mas Mujib.
Go, Ala,
Let's see.
go.
Ismi,
I'm not sick of my voice.
who have we heard
Um,
from? I feel like Ala, you've reported back twice from your breakup.
I know.
And I mean, I
tell
love hearing
them.
from you, but like, guys,
Yes, I'm supportive of this. Let's hear
who
it.
else is there? Okay, Mas Mujib, you're speaking like you're an MC. We have nominated you to report back.
Okay. I think we have limited minutes today. I think from the breakout session room, we listened a lot from each delegate, but I think Mbak Ismi had the fewest time to talk about what stood out from the presentation. But from the previous speakers, I think we agree that to think about the minority in our society, that even we are not the same in religion, but we are the same in humanity. I think there is no such way to justify any intolerant action in our society that will endanger the life of people. I think one life matters, no matter who you are and where you are from. I think what Allah told us in the breakout session was was not easy, because being the minority need to educate people in non-Muslim majority workplace. Like when we want to do something in terms of Islamic practices, or you want to do like any other things, like Julia mentioned in the chat box, that when we are doing fasting, and then sometimes people are not are not aware of that, so we need to do iftar, and then we need to pray something like that. I think the story is always been there. I mean, the value of the idea of today's presentation is that no matter what our beliefs and what we thought on something, should not be generalized, and we cannot impose people to do what we want them to do. I think Mas Hibat also mentioned the history when we become minority in other majority Christian majority country. When I was in US also, when I went there, I think become minority is not that easy. Even we want to pray, we need to ask permission to our to our boss, whether or not we can pray there. When I got the opportunity also to join peace conference in Netherlands, I was in the same room with delegates from Ukraine, from Japan, and we cannot directly pray and do our Islamic practices without having a concern and permission from the other group members, right? So I think Mbak Ismi also mentioned her experience when he worked in the foundation in non-majority Muslim area in eastern part of Indonesia. I think this is not easy to be the minority. I think when we meet young leaders of Muslim in Australia, I think they are facing a lot of challenges. How to put in how to be strong in, in practicing their values. So when Juliana mentioned earlier in another breakout session about 9/11 happened, and then Juliana went to Australia and become the minority of Muslim society, and that's not easy when people looking at you with, with hate, with cynical look. I think that what the minority thinks, look at us as Muslim. So what is the reflection? We as Muslim in Islam majority country Indonesia need to give space and opportunity for the minority in order to grow and put a better contribution or equal right with us in order to be the real human. Not because Rahmatan lil Alamin is not only about practicing Islam as worshiping God, but it's more like giving the same chance and opportunity to make human become humanistic. I think that's all the closing statement. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum.
Oh my God, I so love it. His voice. Thank you so much, Ustadz Mujib. Yeah, perfect. Thank you, Bu Rina. I think everyone is love your voice.
I think you may have started a fan club here, Mas Mujib. People want some MC training from you, and I think Mas Rowan wants to know what microphone you're using. But we also really liked your reflection and what you actually said. Yes, yeah, no, and it is, look, that's the actual content of what you said. I think it's such an important reflection and such a big part of our program, because what you guys have in common is that we're all Muslim, and a really interesting point of difference that we explore is the minority versus the majority experience, which includes not just Australians, but also like Mbak Ismi's experience being in Eastern Indonesia, and we will I think the week after next, we'll also be hearing from a guest speaker, from the Shia community in Indonesia. So there's really interesting variations on the minority experience in Indonesia as well as in Australia. So thank you so much for that reflection. I can see that yes, Allah has sent a really interesting comment, but it's long, so I can't comment on it because my brain can't process reading it at the same time as speaking.
It's really beautiful. I encourage everyone to read it.
Yeah. Very cool. Yeah. So basically talking about that the support between the different religious communities, which is really, really beautiful. Thank you so much for that comment, Allah, and sharing that experience. Yeah, which is absolutely the heart of the program. You guys sharing your experiences. Anjum, I also realized I forgot to ask you if you attended Islamic schools. I know you grew up in the UK. No? Yeah, so you get that response and that response, different responses from different people. Anyway, thank you all so much, everyone. Just before we go, we don't have very long, but I'm just checking. I think we've heard back from almost everybody now, Ro, for the delegate presentations. I think perhaps we're waiting on one or two still from the 23rd, or is everyone now confirmed?
I don't know the answer to that question.
You don't know the answer? That's all right. Neither do I. But I think last time I looked, almost everybody was confirmed for their delegate presentation time. So if you haven't had a chance to respond to that email yet, people presenting on the 23rd, please do, just to make sure. We're looking forward to our session on Thursday, which is going to be looking at female ulama and the role of female leaders in the community, in scholarship. We have two amazing speakers who will be joining us. Sister Sarah Sabag, who is the founder of Benevolence Australia, so a Muslim community organisation which works with the full Muslim community, but was founded by Muslim sisters and very intentionally has a female-only board without itself being a women's organisation. It is an organisation that works across both men and women. And then from Indonesia, we're really looking forward to hearing from Bu Hindun Anissa, who is a member of the Fatwa Commission with the Indonesian Ulama Council, and she's also the leader of a pesantren, an Islamic boarding school, which hosted the most recent Indonesian Female Ulama Congress. So they're both amazing speakers that we're looking forward to hearing from on Thursday. And then we have some even more amazing speakers who will be joining us on Saturday, which is you guys, for our very first delegate presentation session, which we're really, really looking forward to. If anyone has any questions or concerns at all, I know a couple of people have asked if they're able to send us their slides in advance just to check. You're welcome to do that if you would like to, but you're not obliged to. Hopefully it's clear from the email what we're hoping, but yeah, if you have any questions, feel free to get in touch with us. But basically we are really looking forward to hearing your stories. A lot of you were able to turn up and join us for the social session last Saturday, which was an optional session, but many of you came and that was really beautiful. It was really wonderful to hear of everyone's many, many different traditions to do with Maulid in our different communities. But yeah, so we're really looking forward to hearing your reflections and stories this Saturday, inshallah. And I think that's all I need to report. Thank you all. It's past 9 o'clock. My apologies, but thank you all for the session today and for your wonderful reflections on your discussion. And we'll see you all on Thursday, inshallah.